Welcome to the VEROSCOPE analysis today, where we're going to be looking at the forensic linguistics of Judge Beverly Cannone and also Trooper Michael Proctor. And if you're new to the trial, which maybe you are, maybe you're watching from the UK for the first time, this is Judge Aunty Bev Cannone, as the media have dubbed her, and she presided over the Karen Reid trial twice. Karen was accused of murder. This is Karen on the right-hand side. That's Alan Jackson on the left, her attorney. Karen was accused of the murder of police officer John O'Keefe, who was found on the lawn of a fellow Boston police officer. And this particular judge, where is she again? Let's have a look at her. Well, you can see plenty of photos of it. There she is. Look, our favourite judge, Aunty Bev, as she's known. And we're going to be looking at her linguistics, and we're going to be determining whether or not she has displayed any evidence of her being biased in the trial. So let's have a look. What have we got? Judge Cannone demonstrates a clear pattern of interrupting defence counsel at critical moments. So let's be fair. How does she do this? She says, "Let him finish." She ironically interrupts Jackson to tell him to let Proctor finish. Always saying sustained, often sustained objections before Jackson can even complete his question. So in other words, the prosecutor objects before Jackson's completed the question. And even before Jackson's completed the question, the judge joins in and says sustained. She'll often say, "Ask it differently," forcing rephrasing when the original question was legally proper. So what's she doing very subtly? Well, she's giving the witness more time to think, more cognitive time. When the witness is put under pressure by Jackson, the longer they have to recover and think, the better. And it's these tiny little differences that the referee is able to swing the game. Little calls here and there, which over the course of a trial can make a big difference, which is why it's very important for a judge not to be at all biased and to be seen not to be at all biased, because every single word you say can influence the jury. To Proctor, "You have to keep your voice up, okay? Jurors need to hear you way back there." So she uses a supportive tone, a maternal, loving, caring, supportive tone to the prosecution witnesses. But to Jackson, she has a formal, curt tone. Very little explanations are provided with immediate shutdown. She makes it clear to everyone how she feels, which she isn't supposed to do because it really can influence a jury. So we have different levels of treatment revealing, in my opinion, bias, and in the opinion of many people. We have other patterns. We have the objection sustained speed pattern, multiple instances of near instantaneous sustainment. Objection sustained. Objection sustained. At one point, and we'll have to play it when we go back to Sergeant Good, who, by the way, if you haven't seen the VEROSCOPE report on Sergeant Good, it's called Bad Sergeants. Go back and have a look at that on the VEROSCOPE channel. It came out a few days before, I think he's been suspended. I'm not sure. Maybe if you know, do say in the comments. But we produced that VEROSCOPE report, and by coincidence, he was, I believe, suspended a day or two later. So very little pause from Judge Cannone for consideration, and very little explanation of any grounds. So what does the speed indicate? The speed indicates predetermination to support the prosecution, potentially, in my opinion, obviously, not actually considering the legal merit, just objection sustained. Pattern recognition in her mind rather than legal analysis. Objection sustained. And reflexive protection rather than judicial consideration. We also have other patterns. So the judge allows Proctor to give long, self-serving explanations, but interrupts Jackson's follow-ups permits Proctor unsolicited, based on evidence speeches, stops Jackson from challenging those speeches, creates asymmetric examination conditions, the linguistic indicator, active facilitation of witness rehabilitation. This is all obviously my opinion, but it's also the opinion of many others as well. And if it's your opinion, please do say so in the comments. And any other examples of bias which we haven't yet pointed out. We'll be going through all the witness analysis. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the VEROSCOPE channel, please do. And also, having watched a few of the VEROSCOPE reports, if learning about statement analysis and forensic linguistics and being able to tell if someone's lying to you or being deceptive or is gaslighting you or perhaps has in the past, or you want to make sure no one does in the future, then consider joining VEROSCOPE as a member as well, where we're going to be going into more detail. Or if you just want to every now and again see a VEROSCOPE report, just subscribe. That would be just as good as well. So let's have a look at the actual, a quick thank you to the trial channel as well, because they are a brilliant channel who edit lots of this trial footage, which means if you're interested in watching trials, you don't have to go through all the waiting and the sidebars and all the rest of it. They do a fantastic job at editing. So let's quickly carry on now with the trial itself, and we'll come back to the analysis in a moment.
Ahead, Mr.
Thank you,
Jackson.
Trooper Proctor, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to turn to tab 2 in the binder in front of you. Can you take a look at the face page of what's under tab 2 and tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, sir. It's a private text thread with high school friends.
And this includes 9 participants, 9 chat participants that you engaged with?
That's correct.
Those participants include people by the name of Bird, Whitey, and Doc, correct?
Correct.
And then there's some other folks in there. They're identified by at least the last.
So this is the investigator, Proctor, the lead investigator. He's a family friend of the cop whose front lawn John O'Keefe, the murdered policeman's body, was found on. And he's texting childhood school friends about the crime. And previous to that, he was looking for nude photographs of Karen Reed, who is being tried for murder. This is the lead investigator. Imagine that.
4 digits of their phone number, correct?
Yes.
So this is a group text or a group chat with you and 8 of your high school friends about this investigation, correct?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you never thought when you were engaged with these other 8 individuals that this particular set of chats would ever become public, did you?
No, I do not.
I want to take a look at page 2527, if you could turn. That's on the bottom right of the document in tab 2. Do you recognize, I'm sorry, do you have that page in front of you?
Yes, sir.
You recognize that this group chat was taking place on January 29th at about 10:52 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And the person that I'll identify as 5051, that's the last 4 digits of that phone number, indicates Chip, name of that BPD cop, correct?
Correct.
First of all, you indicated on Monday that you're Chip, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You responded at 10:53 p.m., John O'Keefe, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you were willing to tell, just a few hours into an investigation of the death of a Boston police officer, you were willing to tell a bunch of high school buddies details about the investigation, including the name of the victim, correct?
At this point, it's 16 hours later, sir. Not a few.
16 is...
Okay, so when we have a witness get picky, that it's 16 hours later that he's texting his high school mates about the murder of a police officer, that tells you all you need to know about this witness. He's going to be obstructive, he's going to be difficult, and we're going to find out exactly where he's deceptive. So we're going to be looking at the tenses that he uses, the pronouns that he uses or sometimes forgets to use, and all the other indicators that we've been learning on the VEROSCOPE channel. By the way, if you haven't seen this before, and lots of you from the UK are new to the trial, this is Yannetti, a fantastic lawyer, one of my favourites, and this is Karen Reed, the defendant. And over here, if you get to see, this is Karen Reed's father. So let's carry on.
Few hours, correct? I'm not talking about days later.
It was about 16 hours later, sir.
Correct. And you identified John O'Keefe as the Boston police officer who was fallen in the yard at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
You also informed, if you will skip to page 2529, you also informed these same folks, these same high school buddies, that, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP, correct?
Yes.
You knew, Trooper Proctor, that there was brass that wanted this case wrapped up quickly and efficiently. Isn't that right?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Is that what you were thinking?
No.
Okay, so I'll allow that. Linguistically, the prosecutor objected. She should be saying overruled. But instead, look at the subtleties of how she's affecting the jury. It's the, I'll allow that. It's almost as if she's giving a special gift, just this once on this occasion, to the defence. But not too often, of course. They don't deserve too often. It's very subtle, and it's drip, 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 influencing the unconscious mind of the jury over the course of a long trial, this attitude from the judge. She knows what she's doing, in my opinion. She's influencing. And if she doesn't know what she's doing, then perhaps that's arguably even worse. Let's carry on.
The people wanted answers, sir.
They didn't just want answers, they wanted answers ASAP. What does ASAP mean?
That's as soon as possible.
Right. And you were texting this to your high school friends, again, 16 hours into this investigation, right?
Correct.
And you knew at that time, Trooper Proctor, that this was not going to implicate in any way, shape, form, or fashion another cop, correct?
Correct.
In this text exchange, let's turn to 2532, actually.
Oh, and the other little habit that she has is she then asks the witness a question herself. So she'll say, we'll let the defense have this. I'll let him have it. And then, can you answer that? Especially when it's safe for her to do so. And if the witness says no, she'll then say, move on, Mr. Jackson. As if that's the end of it. As if she's had enough of the truth coming out. And in fact, whenever the witness gets close to the truth, let's pay close attention to what this judge does.
Do you have that in front of you?
I do.
In this text exchange at 10:56 p.m., your buddy Bird writes, I'm sure the owners of the house will receive some shit. Correct?
Correct.
How did you take that to mean? Did you take that to mean that he could get in trouble?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what my friend was getting at.
Well, you had some idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Said the owners of the house isn't going to get any shit for this, right?
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, you interpreted it like he's not going to get in any trouble. He's not going to be a suspect, correct?
Correct.
And he's not going to be implicated in any way. Is that right?
Correct.
And you're...
You see, it's not my job to tell the Americans how their police should operate. But in the UK, whenever you hear somebody say but, by the way, you know they're about to do something that they've just said they're not. In the UK, if we had a police officer murdered on the front lawn of a party, that house would have forensics crawling all over it until the murderers had been caught. There is absolutely no way that a murdered British policeman on the front lawn of a party house would the investigating team not even go inside. And also you wouldn't have childhood friends of the people in the party in charge of the murder investigation. It just wouldn't happen. This is the most awful example of American justice the world has ever seen in recent years. And if the murder of John O'Keefe is not solved, then it will be down to individuals like him for the shoddy, unprofessional investigation that took place. However, the FBI have been investigating. The FBI don't write to the witnesses and the suspects to let them know that the investigation is over. And for the murder of a Boston cop, the investigation is never over. In fact, there's a video on the VEROSCOPE channel, if you haven't seen it, with a detective Lazarus, who was a cop who murdered her boyfriend's girlfriend. And decades later, she was still a detective, and as a cold case, other detectives eventually solved the crime, arrested her, there was a trial, and she's been sentenced to life in prison. And she is still in prison, although possibly due for parole at some point. So if you haven't seen the Lazarus VEROSCOPE, go and check that out as well. But let's carry on.
Answer was one word, correct?
Yes.
What was that word?
Nope.
And then you followed that up with an explanation as to why you said no, didn't you?
That wasn't the explanation why I said nope. I simply said homeowner was a Boston cop too, meaning Mr. O'Keefe was a Boston cop. The homeowner was a Boston cop as well.
The question that preceded your answer, nope, the homeowner's a Boston cop too, was the homeowner's gonna get some shit for this, correct?
That's not what I meant with that text.
That's what you wrote.
Not what I meant, sir.
All right, let's take it in order. Question. Oh goodness, the homeowner's gonna get some shit for this. Answer, nope. Next text, he's a Boston cop too. That doesn't sound like an explanation for your nope.
No, that's just saying he's a Boston cop as well. Mr. O'Keefe is a Boston cop.
And that's why he's not going to get any shit, correct, Trooper Proctor?
Well, he's not going to receive any shit, sir, because Mr. Albert, the homeowner, had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
And you knew this 16 hours into your investigation?
Yes.
Less than a day?
Yes.
To your satisfaction?
To my satisfaction.
He'd not even been inside the house. He just knew him from school. There's a dead cop on the front lawn. This is just incredible that he's texting childhood friends on his phone saying that the cop whose front lawn another cop has been found murdered on isn't going to get any shit, and now has the audacity to say that at 16 hours in, which isn't a few hours, by the way, that he's determined that this other cop is innocent and that nobody in the house has got anything to do with the murder, and that the only person, as Jackson says, is pin it on the girl. Pin it on the girlfriend. Zero investigation on the cop inside. And there are other people inside that house as well. And because the case isn't going away, ever, and because conspiracy under certain American statutes carries 20 years for everyone involved, everyone, it's only a matter of time before allegiances change and the truth comes out.
Action to the members of my unit.
So let him finish. We didn't get the finish your answer.
To my satisfaction and to all the members of my unit who investigated that day.
Objection. Calls for speculation.
So I'm going to let it stand. Trooper Proctor, you have to keep your voice up, okay? Jurors need to hear you way back there.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact of the matter is, you hadn't been to the crime scene by the time you wrote this text, correct?
Correct.
You hadn't been inside the home, correct?
No.
You had you had questioned a grand total of 3 percipient witnesses at this point, correct?
Yes.
And 2 of the 3 were named McCabe, right?
Correct.
And 1 of the 3 was named Albert, correct?
Yes.
And it's against that backdrop that you wrote, nope, the homeowner's not going to get any shit because he's a cop, right?
That's not what I meant by that.
At 10:57, Bird goes on to write, he, the homeowner, must have been a puddle to accomplish that. And then he writes, who's the homeowner? And then he writes, I hope not, but I can see it. Correct?
Yes.
A puddle means drunk, correct?
That's a term for it, yes.
In other words, Bird wrote that the homeowner must have been so drunk, so wasted, to have killed him. Correct?
Objection.
Do you know what that means? Do you know what that text means?
Just the puddle part, Your Honor. That term.
All right, so he can answer that.
And the puddle part means...
Did you hear that? So she interferes. She begins to relieve some of the stress from the witness, determines if it's safe or not, is helping him out in effect. It's just unbelievable. It's blatant. It's not even subtle.
Drunk or wasted, right?
Yes.
And what Bird actually wrote was, he must have been a puddle to accomplish that. Correct?
That's what he wrote.
And then you write back, quote, she waffled him. I looked at his body at the hospital, right?
Correct.
You used the phrase waffled about a Boston police officer who had fallen in the snow and died in someone's yard. And you decided to use the word waffled him, correct?
Objection.
So sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
What is wrong with asking if he wrote what he wrote? This, again, is buying the witness cognitive time to think.
Did you answer, she waffled him, I looked at his body at the hospital?
I did answer that, yes.
And then Bird questioned, she waffled him, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, he was banged up. Is that right?
Yes.
Then a person with the phone number 0095 wrote, I thought he was drunk. Did he get beat up? You see that?
I do.
And you wrote, nope. Is that right?
Correct.
Yet again, this is before 11 o'clock at night on January 29th, 2022, some 16 hours into your investigation. Is that right?
Yes.
So before you ever went to the crime scene, before you ever went into the house, only having interviewed 3 folks, you had this case nice and wrapped up, didn't you?
Yes, based on the evidence my office uncovered that day, the one shoot discovered at the...
So this is what we call passive language, where there's a lack of agency. He says, based on the evidence, and then a long pause and think, decides that my office uncovered that day. Do you see how that's passive? That doesn't attribute anyone or himself to uncovering any evidence whatsoever. It's just 16 hours in, before he's even been inside the house where the murder occurred, where his childhood friends are. He's determined that the girlfriend has killed him. He refuses to investigate, essentially. All he does is frame. Let's carry on.
The one shoot at the hospital, Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, the broken taillight pieces underneath the snow.
Trooper Proctor, I didn't ask for an explanation. I asked, did you, in your mind, have this case wrapped up? Was it cut and dry in your mind?
Yes.
Bird then writes, so the owner of the house was a woman. Sorry.
So there we are. That wraps it up. It was cut and dried in his mind. He's not even been in the house where the murder could have occurred.
Was a woman cop that beat him? Question mark. Right?
Yes. I was laughing because I I'm meant to be objective, but I mean, the evidence is just so strong that John O'Keefe was killed inside 34 Fairview. All of the expert witness testimony. But in fact, the state couldn't find a single doctor to say that John was killed by a vehicle hitting him. And the state couldn't find a single doctor to say that they're not dog bite wounds. And yet I could probably get 10,000 nurses to look at the photographs of the dog bite wounds and say, yep, they're dog bite wounds. The state couldn't get a single nurse to say that they're not. It's just incredible.
And then you wrote, that's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you said, then I saw the guy, correct?
Correct.
So what you meant by that, Trooper Proctor, was according to you, based on your conversations, your initial conversations with the paramedics, the first responders, you were under the impression that this was a beating death. He'd been beaten to death, correct?
The way it was given to me, sir, was
That's yes
for medical.
That's yes or
No,
no?
he's going to answer the question.
Whoa, the judge gets involved. The judge starts supporting him.
Go ahead.
Draw the question, you can.
No, go ahead.
We entered this investigation with an open mind. It was given to me as a medical situation. And when we saw Mr. O'Keefe's body at the hospital, Sergeant Buchanan and I, we saw his injuries and we were kind of working through how these injuries occurred.
As a matter of fact, both you and Sergeant Buchanan believed that he had suffered the injuries as a result of a physical altercation based on information you received from the paramedics initially, correct?
Initially, we didn't know what we had. We knew there was some significant injuries to Mr. O'Keefe. And we're still figuring out how those injuries occurred.
Well, you just testified. Initially, we didn't know what we had.
Right.
But 16 hours after the fact, you wrote the following sentence. That's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics. Correct?
Correct.
So initially, you did think you knew what you had. A physical altercation leading to a death. Correct?
Correct.
I mean, it's like dragging blood out of a stone. So at last he admits that, okay, yeah, at first I thought it looks like what it looks like. He's been beaten up. It's just almost impossible to get the truth out of this guy. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the analysis and catch up. So the voice volume dichotomy. The judge tells Proctor to speak up, way back there for the jurors, in that maternal, caring kind of voice that she does for certain witnesses. The judicial bias assessment, based on the VEROSCOPE linguistic analysis of Judge Cannone, exhibits a protection pattern. The majority of the rulings favour the prosecution. I believe Jackson said in all of his years practicing law, he's never known a case like it. It's unique. We have to ask the question, why? And who is Judge Cannone connected to politically? The tonal asymmetry, the supportive to the witness but hostile to the defence, apart from when she's being a very subtle and uses that little drip, drip, drip technique of hers of, I'll allow it, or he can have this one, and words to such effect. We have the speed pattern, the instant sustainment without consideration or legal justification, and we have selective intervention to the witnesses, which allows the prosecution narrative but blocks the defence. There are linguistic patterns to suggest potential judicial partiality warranting review, would be my assessment. So let's have a look at some of the critical findings. Yeah, but confession. When confronted with, you guys are out to make it cut and dry since it involved cops, Proctor responds, yeah, but there will be some serious charges brought on the girl. linguistically, we were talking about but, weren't we? Linguistically negates what comes before. However, Proctor first says, yeah, this is agreement with the premise. He's not denying they'll make it cut and dry. He appears to be explaining how by charging the girl. The 16-hour timeline. Proctor corrects a few hours to 16 hours with unusual precision. Why? It's classic deflection. It's typical gaslighting to a minor detail when you're guilty. You'll notice if you have a look at the Wendy veroscopes that we've been doing on another trial, she's very similar in her gaslighting. 16 hours is still remarkably fast for a homicide conclusion, don't you think? Especially since he hasn't been inside the house where the murder occurred yet. And we know the house is where the murder occurred because the body of John was found on the front lawn. The precision suggests rehearsal. So there are other areas where we see that he's been coached as well. The nope deception. Proctor claims the homeowner is a Boston cop too. Wasn't an explanation for nope. Waffled, psychological distancing. There's lots of need to explain. Brian Albert's name isn't mentioned very often. You'll notice with this witness, Proctor, his denials are never reliable. They're always weak denials. I don't believe so. No, I never did. Actually, this wouldn't be strong, but for Proctor it would. Never, by the way, is a word we always look for. Absolutely is also a word that we always note. You'll see Wendy uses this phrase a lot. Absolutely not. It's a need to convince. It's overselling, and it's another way of saying that. It's, as a principle, when somebody's conveying information, we deem that to be more reliable, and if they're convincing us, then we ask, why are they convincing? Okay, let's go back to the actual trial itself.
You just said, initially we didn't know what we had. That wasn't quite true. You did at least have an idea of what you thought you had, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right.
Bang! Sustained.
You were aware, initially, that John O'Keefe had suffered a 2-inch laceration to the back of his head, correct?
Yes,
That resulted in a skull fracture, correct?
correct.
He had a laceration over his right eye, small laceration just under the eyebrow, correct?
Yes,
Had a laceration on his nose, is that right?
correct.
He had patterned scratches on his right arm, abrasions, scratches, correct?
Yes,
And he had no injuries below the neck.
not that I observed, sir.
Not a single broken bone, correct?
Not that I was aware of.
Not a single fracture, correct?
Not that I was aware of.
Not a single bruise below the neck, right?
Not that I observed.
Looks a lot like a physical altercation, doesn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Bird writes,
So he's asked that it looks a lot like a physical altercation, which was his initial findings. Objection sustained. So now he doesn't have to answer that. It's just incredible.
Bear, let's focus, correct?
Yes,
Who's Bear?
that's another nickname I have.
0095 writes, what does she waffled him mean? And then Bird writes, what's the story, correct?
Correct.
And you wrote, she hit him with her car. Is that right?
Yes,
Have you ever seen, in your experience, have you ever seen a pedestrian who was hit by a 6,000-pound car with no bruises. Ever.
The pedestrian strikes I've seen have been at high speeds,
And that's
60
enough
plus.
A person out of the shoe, right?
60 plus miles per hour. So I can't recall right now off the top of my head as far as injuries in the past pedestrian strikes I've attended.
Okay. So someone, you indicated on Monday, under examination by Mr. Lally, you've seen a shoe missing.
Correct.
Pedestrian strikes, correct?
Yes.
Those are high-speed, extremely high-speed incidents, correct?
Yes.
60 plus miles an hour, right?
I can't recall all the pedestrian strikes I've been to as far as the miles per hour the vehicle is traveling.
Trooper Proctor, let me ask you the question again. Have you ever, yes or no, have you ever, in your experience, seen a vehicle pedestrian incident in which the pedestrian has no bruises?
Objection.
Have you seen that?
I can't recall.
Okay, next question.
Bang! Next question. I mean, the judge is incredible.
After you wrote, she hit him with her car, 5051 writes, oh Jesus, and Bird writes, okay, that's fucked up, correct?
Correct.
And then you wrote what?
Intentional or not.
You see, he was under pressure before the judge interfered. He was under pressure. He was probably going to start waffling a ridiculous answer. The prosecutor knew the sort of pressure he was under and that he was about to start waffling and make himself look ridiculous and give away too much of the truth. He objects, not under legal grounds, but in the clever way that they can often do to prevent the truth coming out. The judge joins in on the game and asks him, can you answer that? He says no, next question. And so she's essentially interfering in, and it takes Jackson a while to build pressure. So as a little tag team together, the prosecutor and the judge, whenever the witness is under this extreme pressure, they alleviate it. Can you see how they're doing this?
Intentional or not? Is that right?
Yes.
Your words.
Correct.
0095 then chimes in, gotcha. He was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him? Question mark. Correct?
Correct.
And you wrote what?
That's another animal we won't be able to prove.
That's another animal we won't be able to prove. Correct?
Correct.
Trooper Proctor, you knew that there were going to be things in this case, even 16 hours into this, that you just admitted you would have zero proof of. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Did you mean by that statement that this was one of several things that you knew we would not be able to prove?
That statement, that's another animal we won't be able to prove, references the intentional or not part.
You didn't care at that point when you wrote that, you didn't care what you could or could not prove, did you?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Isn't that what you meant?
No.
You had a narrative that you had developed, and you would pursue it no matter what the proof was. That's what you meant by that statement, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently, Mr. Chairman.
Did you mean by that, thank you, Your Honor, I didn't mean to step on your words. Did you mean by that statement that you were going to pursue this case no matter what the proof might be?
What I meant by that statement was if Miss Reed backed into Mr. O'Keefe intentionally or not.
Interestingly, though, that statement came on the heels of he was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him. And you wrote in response to that question, that's another animal we won't be able to prove. Correct?
That's not what I was responding to. I was responding to the intentional or not part.
So you were responding to your own statement, according
Correct.
Okay. 00.
Well, do you believe that? That he writes a text and then replies to himself? Maybe you do.
95 then writes, what's the name of the Canton cop living in Canton? The other one involved. Correct?
Yes.
In other words, that person was asking, tell me the name of the homeowner. Isn't that right?
Yes.
The guy that's the cop, right?
Correct.
And you ignored that question for a second time. Is that right?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, not one time, not once in this entire group chat did you disclose the name Brian Albert, did you?
I don't believe so, no.
You were actively trying to hide Brian Albert's name, at least from this conversation.
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you were trying to do?
Absolutely not.
But you had no problem sharing John O'Keefe's name with your buddies from high school, right?
Correct.
And you had no problem sharing Karen Reed's name with your buddies from high school, correct?
I don't believe I named the defendant.
Not yet, you didn't. Later in the chat.
Okay, correct.
5051 then writes, the BPD have any jurisdiction here because it was their own? Question mark. Is that right?
That's the Boston Police
Yes.
Department.
And a few texts later, if you look down a few texts, at about 11 o'clock, you see a text that starts, nah, cat.
I do so, yes.
You responded, quote, nah, N-A-H, nah, cat, K-A-T-T. It's the total opposite. They have to recuse themselves. Same with Canton. Correct?
That text ends as they have to recuse themselves.
You then text back, I'm sorry, can I have a moment?
Yes.
Flip the next page.
I see where you're at, sir.
How did you end that text?
Same with Canton.
Meaning Canton has to recuse itself also, correct?
That was my understanding.
So by 11 p.m. on January 29th, 2022, there was no question in your mind, Trooper Proctor, that the Canton Police Department was recused from this investigation in all particulars, correct?
That they had taken a step back from participating, yes.
Right. Well, there's one way to put it. They've taken a step back from participating. Another way to put it is they recused themselves completely, correct?
Correct.
They were not going to be, at least in your mind, they were not to be involved in any way, just like Boston PD was not to be involved in any way. Is that right?
Objection.
Is that what you were thinking?
It was my understanding they were not going to be involved.
So when you recuse yourself from the case, I suppose that being a childhood friend and family friend of the people inside the murder house isn't sufficient enough reason, according to this guy.
Now, if we could turn to page 2537, 5051 writes, but I assume you guys are out to make it cut and dry since it involves cops, correct?
Yes.
And Bird writes, something stinks, correct?
Correct.
And then Trooper Proctor, you responded, yeah, but there will be some serious charges brought on the girl. Isn't that right?
That's right.
So in that text exchange, you were saying, yeah, we're out to make it cut and dry, correct?
No.
You didn't write, yeah, we're going to follow the evidence wherever it takes us. You didn't, did you?
I did not write that.
You didn't write, yeah, we're going to make sure that we investigate this thing fully and thoroughly before making any decisions. You didn't say that, did you?
I did not.
You wrote, yeah, but there will be some serious charges brought on the girl. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And the reason you wrote that is because you knew, as the text above it says, this has to be cut and dry because it involves cops, right?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Is that the reason you wrote it?
No, Your Honor.
And then you indicate,
So where she knows, all the witness has to do is say, no, Your Honor, or yes, Your Honor. In other words, where she knows it's safe to interfere, because she can't, like always side with the prosecutor on every single one. So where she knows it's safe, her technique is to then ask the question herself. The witness gives the singular answer, and then she essentially orders Jackson to move on. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of today's Veroscope. We're going to carry on with the analysis possibly tomorrow, or we might do a continuation of Wendy because we're just reaching the point where Wendy's being cross-examined. So if that's a case that you're following, maybe I'll put that one up tomorrow. Okay, enjoy the rest of the day and look forward to speak to you in the comments.